Hi, all, and welcome to Lunchtime Topics. Lunchtime Topics is a program of the Creative Coast. We are a 501c3 nonprofit here in Savannah, Georgia, and we exist to cultivate the innovation economy. We do that through our social and educational programs, and Lunchtime Topics is one of those programs. So, a couple times a month, we bring in a business expert professional who shares their wisdom with the digital entrepreneurs and startup community of the coastal Georgia region. And we've had people talk about marketing. We've had people talk about data analytics. We've had people talk about UX design. And we've had people talk about everything from stress and how to dampen stress in the workplace. And today we are going to be talking with Jamie Blair about creating a red velvet rope policy to help you work only with your ideal client. So I'm sure if you freelance before, if you run a business and started one, you've hit that wall where you're kind of like, gosh, I have these clients that I really like to work with. And then I have these clients, not so much. They're not the easiest and they're demanding all my time. So that's what Jamie's here to talk about today. And a little bit about Jamie. She helps entrepreneurs and small business owners basically create powerful personal brands so they can attract more of their ideal clients, which is what we're talking about. So even if they hate marketing and selling, that's what she's helping these companies with and these individuals. And she's been working with small businesses for over a decade, and she's showing them how to communicate their value with passion, confidence, and precision. She's a Book Yourself Solid licensed professional. And so before, we get too deep into things, I want to let you know that we have these twice a month, and we have a number of events coming up. We have our social on December 16th if you're in Savannah, and we have another lunchtime topic, I believe, on December 14th. So mark your calendars for those. And I want to go ahead and welcome you, Jamie. Thanks for being here, and let's get started.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Kate. I'm excited to be here and share this information with you guys. A little about me. I've been a copywriter and a copy editor for over a decade, like you said, and I always did freelance work alongside my regular 9-to-5 copywriting job. And a few years ago, I decided to devote myself strictly to freelancing full time. And the challenge that I faced, which I think is pretty common, is dealing with that instability and feast and famine cycles that come when you're operating in the mindset of a freelancer as opposed to a business owner. So determined to make everything work out, I came across the Book Yourself Solid program, which is a systematic approach to getting more clients. And I definitely needed help implementing systems and structure into my business. So I enrolled in their training program and put the procedures to work in my business immediately. And it was so cool. Before my training was even over, using what I had learned, I had 10x my prices. So something I was charging $400 for, I started charging $4,000 for. And it was such a huge eye-opener to me. And nobody died. I didn't go to jail. My clients were actually better and they were happier, and the new clients didn't even blink at my price increases. So needless to say, I never looked back. And I was so impressed by all that. And I got to thinking that there are plenty of wonderful copywriters in the world, but there aren't a lot of simple, sound, and time-tested resources to help them and other creative entrepreneurs build really stable and successful businesses. And I wanted to change that. So I joined their team and became a Book Yourself Solid licensed professional. And now my business is to help creative entrepreneurs get more awesome, delightful clients and generate consistent revenue, even if they hate marketing and selling, which I think most of us do. And what we're going to talk about today, the Red Velvet Rope policy, is the very first step in the entire Book Yourself Solid system.
Awesome. So, okay, we talked about the red velvet rope, or I mentioned the red velvet rope policy, and that's in the title of Lunchtime Topic. Can you tell us what that is exactly?
Yeah. So the red velvet rope policy, simply put, is a filtration system that allows in only your ideal clients. And those are clients who energize and inspire you. And most importantly, clients that allow you to do your best work. So you can think of the red velvet rope policy as the bouncer to the door of your business. They only let in people that create a fabulous vibe and heighten the experience for themselves, for you, and all your other clients.
Got it. Okay. So, and then why do we need it? What's the importance of it from the start and get-go of launching a business?
It's important because the fact is that there are some people that we're meant to work with and other people not so much. And our job is to do everything in our power to find those people that we're meant to work with, because, working with anyone who has a wallet and a pulse just because is really demoralizing. And it keeps us from reaching our full potential. And it really hurts our businesses, because if you have a string of crappy clients that drain all your energy and bring you down, you're not doing your best work, and your business doesn't take off the way that it should, because your heart isn't completely in it. So to have a wildly successful business, we need to be doing our best work. And if you think about it, things that happen when you're doing your best work and creating an incredible experience for your clients is that everyone's in a better mood and they work harder and they show up stronger, and your clients get better results. And then that turns them into raving fans who go out and they talk about you in the world and they gush about you. And that word of mouth is the best marketing you could get and a great source of quality referrals. Also, when you work with the right people, especially for creatives, it helps you affirm that you're doing what you were born to do. And you can feel it, and your confidence soars, and you're energized to put yourself out there, and promoting yourself starts to feel a bit more natural. And third of all, it just makes work more fun. And you start to fall in love with your business because it feels like you're hanging out with your friends. And actually, some of the best clients I've ever had are now my friends, because it was just such a fantastic experience. So it just elevates every aspect of your life, and it encourages you to want to do more work instead of shy away from it. And if you think about it, when you're working with bad clients, the opposite happens. They're like energy vampires, and they stress you out and they drain you and they frustrate you. And then you're not doing your best work and they're not saying great things about you. And that's not what you really want. So it's not just a fantasy to fill your calendar with ideal clients. It's actually a strategic business move that creates this virtuous cycle of you doing your best and then working with the best people and so on.
Okay. So one thing I have to say about you is when we talked the first time, like one of the things I noticed is you were filled with so much joy and passion and kindness. And I think that to me is a reflection of how much you enjoy doing your work, because it's not always the case. You sit across from somebody who's in job and they're just like, I don't want to be here. And you can see that. And I never felt that way with you. I'm not a client of yours, but just in our conversations in general, and every time we've interacted, it seems like you're happy to be anywhere. And even if it's networking and doing things that maybe aren't works involved. So I just have to say that you're very genuine in that regard. And it shows based on your, if you're not bothered by your work and whatever you're doing. So all that to say, what questions do we need to be asking so we can figure out what our red velvet rope policy looks like? Because we want to know from the get-go. Like some people might be like, I have no clue how to even do what you're talking about. Like it just seems like an overwhelming kind of task to get to this point. So what questions do we need to be asking?
Well, I will say, if you don't have a business yet or you're just starting out, it's a really good thing to have in your head, because it helps you create boundaries. Just knowing what you will accept and won't accept with the people you're working with helps you avoid a lot of bad situations just from the get-go. So it's good to kind of work out those boundaries. And so when you're thinking of what your ideal clients look like, and you think about what kind of qualities and characteristics they have that energize and motivate you. So for instance, my ideal clients are open-minded, respectful, and curious, and they have a good sense of humor. And mostly they're passionate about the work that they do, and they have a deep desire to share it with others. And they're not scared to go against the grain and forge their own path. I love working with those people. And that's what makes me super motivated to help them and help them get the best results. So for me, that's so important because like you said, I have a lot of energy when it comes to what I do. And that comes from working with the right people and having those good experiences. So some examples of questions that you can ask to kind of put this in place are, what are the core values of your ideal clients that resonate with you? Do they tend to be more left-brained or more right-brained? How do they contribute to society? What do they like to talk about? How do they learn best? Who do they associate with? Which is an important piece of it too, because people can say whatever they want, but you can tell a lot about a person based on who they choose to spend their time with. Are they generous, ambitious, creative? Do you prefer spending time with introverts or extroverts? And all of these things are important to kind of have in your head what's going to create the best bond, the best electricity between you and your clients. So everyone gets excited and does the best work together. So take some time to reflect on how you light up and perform at your very best when you're around what type of people.
It sounds like it's almost like making a list of your values and kind of making sure they align with theirs, right? Like, and I'm thinking Eric Regan's on this call, and he's the co-founder of Focus Lab, and they like take their company values to heart, and they don't just slap them up on their website. They really focus on, who they hire as well as their clients, if their values kind of align with theirs. And I have to say, like, I think it makes a difference in overall work attitude, like you said. So, okay. So when did you have the realization, and how long did it take you to achieve working with your ideal clients?
I'm definitely a learn from my mistakes kind of person, for sure. So my red velvet rope policy has been built piece by piece over the years and is always evolving. And I think it's really important every time that I have a less than ideal experience with a client, I revive my policies in my business to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I wholeheartedly look at every business blunder as a valuable lesson and immediately set out to put in place ways not to repeat it. So for me, it's been a very organic process. But I do believe that everyone needs to have some red velvet rope policy failures, because it teaches you and you can learn from them. And then you start to appreciate why they're so important and how they contribute to your success.
Okay. So once you've determined what your standards are and what you want out of a customer relationship, what is the best method for attracting those ideal clients?
So this is my favorite part, because you use it as the basis of all of your business communications. So your website copy, emails to your list, the way you look in your pictures, the way you present yourself when you talk. Like, clearly, no one's going to want to work with me that wants a very low energy, quiet person. So even now in talking to you, I'm filtering out people that aren't going to want to work with me, and vice versa, of course. So your personal brand should clearly express who you work with, the biggest result is that you help them achieve, and why you're passionate about what you do. And then you wrap all that up in a way that lets your personality shine through, so the people who resonate with you can tell that you're their person. And like I said, the people that don't resonate with you, they just fall away before you even have to talk. So show up authentically and clearly, and let your prospects know upfront what to expect with working from you.
Got it. That's interesting too, because we're right now, the Creative Coast is working on a new brand we're going to launch in 2022. And we're sitting down and thinking through, what do we want our brand voice to sound like? What do we want? We've already got our logo design, but originally it was, what colors do we want to use even? And I was thinking about that today, like, the holidays give you a feeling and a sense of like happiness, right? With everything from the music to the colors they use. And that's important in how we, of course, put our companies together and our brand. So your personal brand there sounds like it's so important. And I think sometimes we forget that. I'm kind of a chameleon. I don't mean to be, but when I'm sitting down in meetings with people, I tend to mirror people, and I tend to mirror their energy sometimes. But I can see that would be like in this situation, you really need to be your authentic self when you're in these kind of consultation meetings, so that you can figure out, oh, this person's going to be a fit or not, or maybe you're just reading them and getting the sense. But I think that, I think sometimes we forget about, the copy on our website, the emails we're sending out, and how important it is to stay in line with that brand, and what we want to evoke, and what we want our clients to be like as well. So that's great. Okay.
It differentiates you. It makes you stand out, and it makes people remember you and notice you. And it builds that likability, which is really important, because if you're going to connect with your ideal clients, they have to like you. And to like you, they have to know you and get a sense of the type of person that you are and what your values are.
Right. Okay. So let's think about that in terms of an interview. You're in an interview with a potential client, and you realize when you're in this interview, you're like, I do not want to work with this person. I'm somebody that I always say I'm better on paper than I am in person. Like, I don't mean to be, but I'm like one of those people that, like, I say the wrong thing when I'm not trying to, and then I'm like pulling it back in. I always jokingly say that. And so I say this. So what's your advice for deferring or declining in a respectful and courteous way if you're in that meeting? Yeah.
Totally. And that's a great question. And to what you just said, it is always okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to think about this. Let me review your project, and I will get back to you with a decision. And then you can go back and, take a second and thoughtfully compose and, hey, this isn't going to work out type of response. So that's always okay. You don't have to feel like you need to do it on the phone. But if you are on the phone, obviously approach every situation with kindness and compassion. And just make it clear in the beginning of the conversation that the purpose of it is to see if you're a good fit for each other. And let them know that they have the option to say no, and that you have the option to say no. And when both people are, expected to make a decision, then it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. And so you could always say something like, oh, I've been listening to what you're looking for, and I'm not sure that I'm the best person to help you with your project, because it's not exactly in my wheelhouse, or I can't work in your timeframes, or whatever. But the important part is you can follow and say, however, I have a couple of people top of mind who I think you would love to work with. So let me reach out to them, and I'm happy to refer you to the perfect person. And then you do that because your nightmare client is somebody else's dream client. And that's also why it's so important to always be building your peer network and have a referral pool so that you can make these connections. And then they also, pay it back, and they can connect you to someone that they find themselves in that situation with.
Okay. All right. So we don't have to address it in the meeting. Let's give it some thought. Okay. So, all right. Say you're a few years into your business, and you've been working with some clients that you're just been dying to offload, or maybe more harshly dump, because they've not been so great to you. How do you go about that?
Well, I think, again, it's important to keep in mind that just because they aren't ideal for you doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just not a perfect fit. And they deserve to be working with a service provider that's happy to have them. And there is someone out there who is. So when you've identified a client that you would like to stop working with, you want to have a thoughtful conversation with them. So don't text them or email them. Definitely don't ghost them and just disappear. You can say something like, I really feel like we've reached the limit of the work that we can do together. And I think going forward, you might be better served by another situation, another person, another opportunity. And would you like me to put you in touch with so-and-so to see if you'd be interested in continuing on with them? I've had a wonderful experience with you. I wish you the best, and let's keep in touch. So there's diplomatic ways to handle it, but always if you don't know anyone, you don't know anyone, but makes it so much easier when you can say, we're not working out, but I know someone who I think you'd love. And they probably feel it too if it's not a right fit, and they're probably going to be relieved that you're taking the extra effort to put them in touch with the right person.
Okay, great. I was looking at the chat box. Someone wanted you to put it in there, and Eric responded, and he put the statement in the chat. So,
Oh, I will.
yeah. Okay. So, all right, another scenario. You maybe are struggling a little bit. Maybe you need to make ends meet. How do you turn away the ideal client, the less than ideal clients when you're in that scenario?
You don't. And that is, so the red velvet rope policy is elastic and not iron. And you tighten it and loosen it based on your circumstances. So when you're first starting out or you've hit a rut patch, sometimes you have to do whatever it takes to pay your bills. And there is nothing wrong with that. So your policy gets more flexible until you're able to make ends meet and have a healthy amount of leads in your pipeline. But most importantly, to generate those leads, you need to prioritize having more sales conversations with your prospective ideal clients. And in order to do that, you need to identify who they are and where to find them. And then you need to look for opportunities to get in front of them repeatedly to build familiarity and trust, and then make offers that they want and need. And that way you can then start implementing your rope once you're a bit more secure and shored up. But like I said earlier, it's important to at least have it in your mind so you can go into situations with healthy boundaries with your clients.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's say someone has never freelanced before, or started their own company. What are some of the red flags that you've noticed that you could or that you would share with somebody starting a business? What are some things that you should look out for in a client that maybe often tend to drag most freelancers down?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. As far as the clients are concerned, it's different for everybody. For me, I don't like people that are flaky. I don't like people that miss their deadlines or that are super aggressive and controlling the situation. I like things to be collaborative. So I would look out for cues like that. But my opinion is what sinks most freelancers isn't necessarily who they work with, but the way that they approach freelancing. So, I think you have to right off the bat, adjust your mindset to look at freelance. Instead of looking at yourself like a freelancer, consider yourself a business owner. And remember that you're running a business that's separate from you. And, with that, you have to put strategies and plans in place to have a pipeline full of leads instead of just bopping along and just taking whatever job willy-nilly. So that would be one thing. Another thing, which I really had to learn the hard way, is don't take sales personally. Make an offer that's an appropriate price to keep your business alive and thriving, and then take your ego out of it. Your offer is your offer. And if someone says no, they're not rejecting your soul. You just move on and you keep having more and more sales conversations. And the conversations get easier when you figure out who you work best with, because they want what you have to give. So it doesn't feel icky and stressful. Another thing that I think is really important is to, along the kind of sales idea, is to stop thinking about sales as money you're taking away from a client. It's another lesson, a mindset lesson that I think people struggle with a lot. So it's important to own the value of what you're providing, and you'll be proud of it. And so understand the service that you're providing, because we're happy to pay for things we want. People love spending money. That is not a problem. So when you make offers to prospects that want what you have to sell, they'll be delighted to hire you and to give you as much money as you want. And it's a win-win. So it's so important to set up those external boundaries, if you will. And I guess my final thought on that, and the most important thing I think, in the whole world that will sink a new freelancer or anybody. This isn't even new freelancer or even, I mean, this is, I think everyone really struggles with this. I know I have, is being scared or resistant to defining your target market and niching down and getting really specific about who you work with. You know, earlier I said I learned from my mistakes, and this one is like on the top of my mantle for sure. And I've run around in circles with it, but it is imperative to identify the specific group of people who you serve, know the single biggest result that you get for them, and then really own why you're obsessed with what you do. Because that combination of things is, there is no competition. Nobody else is going to be talking to the exact same group of people, offering them the exact same thing and have the exact same motivation behind it. And that really helps you stick out. And it also helps you know where to find them. Like, where do they hang out? Like, you know, who hangs out in this group? It's Creative Coast, creative entrepreneurs. So I want to come here and I want to talk to you guys, you know, instead of just spamming on Facebook or, you know, being really general. And I think that's just important to figure out who you're talking to and then just build relationships and keep showing up, because nobody remembers a generalist, but people do remember someone that provides exactly what they want and speaks to them like they're in their head, because you just know your ideal customer and your target market so well, and you can make that connection. So I hope that answered your question. Maybe too many answers to your question.
That's perfect. I mean, like you said, it's hard to narrow it down to one thing for everybody, because everybody has different things they're looking for, right? But I agree with you that there's certain things that we're resistant to doing. Like we kind of feel like if we do narrow that market down, then we're going to be struggling, and there is a fear there. So yeah, I appreciate
hard to get over that.
What's that?
It's so hard to get over that, but when you do, doors start to open. And also, that's really important, because when you get specific and you can say exactly what you do, then other people know how to refer you.
So if people want to talk with you privately, could you share where they can find more about you?
Yes, I can go to my website, which is jamieblair.com, and that is spelled JAIMEBLAIR.com. And you can always email me at jamie@jamieblair.com. And if you want to get on my mailing list, if you go to my website and scroll all the way down on the bottom, you can sign up there and we can get in touch in the future.